Hey, you guys, it's those Utah sisters, and we're here sharing one of our favorite games called Golden Token. So, from our website, just select the game in order to dive into the instructions. All right, now the items that you're going to need to play this game is one small numbered token or item per student. This is just a set that I pulled up on Amazon. This is what we're talking about when we say a token. Just something like this. It can be anything. We've even played this game with like Easter eggs. Just something where every single student has one and they are numbered per student. Then you're going to need 4 identical buckets. I'm going to scroll down as you'll see right here. 4 identical buckets, 2 clearly different buckets. These are for the out of play buckets, for example, the 2 different colors here, and then 1 worksheet or assignment per student. Now, this is an individual competition game where students earn chances at a reward by correctly completing problems. Each student receives a numbered token, which should be kept secret from their peers. Okay, you do not want other students to know what number you are in the game. The aim is to have your token in one of the 4 main buckets, these front 4 buckets, at the end of the game, and ideally in a bucket with fewer tokens, so that way you have a better odd of having your token drawn out of one of the 4 at the end of the game. All right, so let's start with setting up the game. Arrange the 4 identical buckets in a row in the front of the room. Place 2 different out-of-play buckets behind them in a separate row. One is labeled 1 turn out of play, and the other is labeled 2 turns out of play. Distribute the tokens to every student and remind them that their number should stay a secret. Do this randomly so that way they can't keep track of who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3, so on and so on. All right. If you want to, you can have them write down their number somewhere, like in their desk or something, if they happen to forget what number they are. That just kind of depends on your students and their needs. All right, starting the game. Students work independently on their assignment or worksheet. After completing and checking a problem with the teacher, they may place their token in play by putting it in one of the 4 front buckets. In this example, in one of these blue buckets. Okay, to start the game, they finish a problem, they go drop it in one of the in-play buckets. Then they return to their seat and they continue working on their assignment on the next problem. Once their token is in play, students earn a turn after each problem that they correctly complete. And this is where they get a little bit of choice in what they do next. On their turn, they can move 1 token. They can either move their token or they can move someone else's token. They can move it to a different front bucket. So one of these blue buckets, they can move it to a different one. They can place it in the 2 turns out of play bucket. So they can choose one from this blue bucket and put it in the 2 turns out of play bucket. Or they can move it back into play if it's their own and it's currently out of play. Okay. Now they have to do so. They have to start by going, if they're in the 2 turns out of play, they have to move it up to the 1 turn out of play. And then from the 1 turn out of play, they can move it up into a blue bucket. Okay. So there's kind of like an order. If they're in a blue bucket and somebody's moving a token from a blue bucket, they have to take it back to the 2 turns out of play bucket. All right. If a token is moved out of the 2 turns out of play, the owner must then move it into the 1 turn out of play, and then from there it can go into one of the front 4, just like I was explaining. Students are not told if their token was moved out of play. They have to notice it themselves. So you don't announce what you're doing, you just move a token, and then if I go up, I can go find my token, or I can just move a random token. It's totally up to me as the owner. All right, when the game is up, when the time is over, the teacher is going to draw 1 token from each of the front 4 buckets. If your token is the one drawn, you win a prize. So there will be 4 winners for this game, and they're going to come 1 out of each of these blue buckets. That's why you want your token in the blue bucket with the fewest other tokens, because you have a better chance at having it drawn at the end of the game. Now, a couple tips and tricks for this game. Don't assign specific numbers, just hand them out random so that way numbers stay a secret. You can use a simplified version depending on the level of your students. For example, you can take out the 2 turns out of play bucket and you can just play with a 1 turn out of play bucket. So they would move it from the blue to the 1 turn out of play, and then from the 1 turn out of play back to the blue bucket. You don't have to have the 2 out of turn play buckets. If you're playing with younger students or maybe students who tend to struggle a little bit more, definitely take out that 2 turns out of play bucket and just play with the 1 turn out of play bucket. Optional quick start: if time is limited or work is more complicated, have all students place their token in play at the start of the game rather than having them complete a problem and then place it. Just start with all tokens in the random front buckets. And then another thing to prevent cheating: reinforce that if a student doesn't check in with a teacher before placing or moving a token, their move doesn't count. So they have to check in with you every time. This is a super fun game. It's honestly one of our students' favorites. It's very easy to implement. Once the students get the hang of it, it goes very quickly. It just takes a couple rounds for students to understand the purpose of the game. If you play this with your class, be sure to tag us at Those Utah Sisters. Thanks. Bye.